NASCAR Coast to Coast, presented by Hercules Tire. An hour of NASCAR touring, regional and local racing from around the country. Now your host for NASCAR Coast to Coast, a guy who is very dangerous on a go-kart track, and a guy who's very dangerous around hotel fountains. Kyle Rickey and Buddy Long.
Doug Coby makes it 3 Stafford wins in a row. One NASCAR Next driver was in the Wisconsin spotlight over the weekend, and one of the young female standouts is hoping to make a move to the East Coast. And her quest begins here today with us on NASCAR Coast to Coast. Welcome to NASCAR Coast to Coast for Wednesday, June 8th, 2016. Kyle Rickey, Buddy Long with you, and into the middle of the well, not quite to the middle of the season yet, but we're getting close. The national standings really beginning to take shape. It's amazing what one full car win can do for some of these drivers, like a Keith Rocco. We talked last week. Not even a modified driver in the top 15 in the nation. Suddenly Keith Rocco's tied for second.
No, it's a very good battle. Matt Bowling still leads the category by just a slim, point over Chase Purdy, who's done very well, as we mentioned last week, at Anderson and Greenville Pickens. But Keith Rocco with a couple of victories at Waterford, New London Waterford Speedwell, and Thompson prior to that. Vaulted himself up there, so that spells trouble because he has historically been up towards the top of the leaderboard. And when you're up there that early and it's Keith Rocco, it's trouble.
It's that time of the year where a bad result in a full field can really drop you in the points, and Keith Rocco hit on some good momentum last week, and suddenly he is up in the top 5. The only modified driver in the top 10, Ted Christopher, the next driver back in 11th. Of course, he's garnered points this year at Stafford, Thompson, and Waterford as well. Speaking of modifieds, up in Connecticut, Stafford Motor Speedway hosted the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour this past Friday night, and to no one's surprise, 3 in a row now for Doug Coby at his home racetrack. Hard to beat at the Connecticut half mile in which he grew up on.
I know this. You talk about how it's trouble if Keith Rocco is that high up in the Whelen All-American standings. It's just as bad if Doug Coby's atop the leaderboard in the Whelen Modified points right now, because he's going to be very hard to catch. But then, too, you look at one of our guests today and looking at Jimmy Blewett, 9th in the series points. He's got a couple of top 5s in the Mystic Missile since a couple of so-so runs early in the year. He's 9th. Now he's about 30 to 40 points out of the lead, but he's only 16 at a second. That's a log jam from second on back right now.
He's had a lot of good runs, and then the spring sizzler where he crashed out early, finished 31st, and that costed him a ton of points, and that's why he has slipped into the second half of the top 10 in the series standings. Jimmy will join us on the show today to talk about his 2016 campaign and why he is back asphalt racing, because if you remember, he's kind of stepped away from asphalt modified racing and has done a lot of dirt modified racing over the last, I believe, 2 or 3 years since he left the modified tour full time.
Yeah, hung up at New Egypt Speedway in New Jersey, some other New Jersey ovals, which the competition is just as tough on the dirt side of life in the Northeast as it is in the modifieds on the asphalt side. And I believe still dabbles a little bit over at Wall Stadium Speedway every once in a while. And, of course, they still have a couple of memorial races, I believe, over there, and I'm sure he'll be a Turkey Derby driver later on this year.
Absolutely. Jimmy will join us here on the show coming up in just a few minutes, finishing second to Doug Coby on Friday night. Donnie Leah finished 3rd, Eric Goodale 4th, Justin Bonsignor rounded out the top 5. You see the latter half of the top 10, Rowan Pennick, Ronnie Silk, Bobby Santos the 3rd, Brandon Bach, and Max Zackum rounding out the top 10. The NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour back in action 1 week from tonight at the Thompson Speedway Motorsports Park for their next event. Ty Majeski will also join us on the show today. Ty, one of the great short track racers in the Midwest, has ventured down south and has done well at New Smyrna Speedway in Florida, part of Florida Speed Weeks, and a NASCAR Next driver for this season, and picked up a big win over the weekend. Whenever you can hold off the Carlson boys at La Crosse Fairgrounds Speedway, you've done something pretty special.
Yeah, he's really made a big mark for himself in a very short period of time. And when you look, he's 10th in the Whelen All-American Series standings. But right now it's so diverse. It shows what tracks each driver runs at.
Yeah.
New Smyrna and La Crosse. He's Florida and he's Wisconsin, but obviously did very well back in February in the World Series of Asphalt Racing. Listed as one of, if not the best, late model short track racer in America. And as you alluded to, when you're racing against Steve Carlson, and I think this upcoming weekend has a big match race with John Reynolds Jr. at Rockford Speedway, who they call Driver X, and you put some of those other names in there in the Midwest, that's a pretty tall order. and a heck of an accolade for a driver so young in his racing career already.
Just ask Dale Earnhardt Jr. how good Ty Majeski is, and he'll
Roush
tell
got
you.
him.
Yeah, absolutely. Roush Fenway development driver and a NASCAR next driver for this year. We'll talk with him coming up in just a little bit after his big win at the La Crosse Fairgrounds Speedway this past Saturday night, one of the few Midwest tracks that actually got a race program in because Mother Nature rained out so many of the others. Also joining us, Hannah Newhouse, a NASCAR Whelen All-American Series driver. She's run part-time in the NASCAR K&N West Series the last couple of years. She's making her move, hopefully, to the East Coast, and she said, hey, I want to stop by and see NASCAR Coast to Coast, and we're like, come on in. And
she's bored.
Yeah, she's also a point leader at Meridian Speedway in the Big Five late model division, a division that would be higher up in the NASCAR Whelen All-American Series rankings, but they only run a few events, and you need, I think, 16 to 20 events to be considered a Tier 1 division, and for those drivers to compete for the national championship in Division 1. But nevertheless, a tough division, even though it is a limited schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. Some great divisions are run at Meridian Speedway, one of 3 tracks from the state of Idaho. And that was one of the things I'm sure Hannah's just so just amazed about. Who would have thought back in the day, or 2 or 3 years ago, there would be one NASCAR Whelen All-American short track, let alone 3, 2 of which host K&N Pro Series West events. So the state of Idaho has definitely put its mark on the NASCAR world, and they're doing a fantastic job with all 3 facilities.
And she runs, I believe, at all 3 of them, including Magic Valley Speedway and Meridian. So we'll talk with her coming up a little bit, see how her transition is just beginning to the East Coast for Hannah Newhouse, and also when she's going to hit the track next in Idaho in that Big 5 late model program. So a busy show today, and what was a busy weekend. We talked about the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, the only tour in action, but coming up this weekend, we're going to have a lot more of the NASCAR series in action, including the NASCAR Pinty Series. I believe they're back in action, along with the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series over in Europe.
Yeah, K&N Pro Series West will also be in action this weekend for the Toyota Napa Auto Parts 150 at Colorado National Speedway. K&N East has the weekend off, but big news that came out this week, and it's really humbling news. Ronnie Bassett has got a full-time ride for the balance of the year. It was noted just a day or so ago after he drove for David Calabrese at Dominion Raceway after they lost all of their equipment, their cars, in a fire in their garage. Calabrese has signed him on as his driver for the balance of the year in that 43 Ford Fusion. So that's good news for a driver that had come into Dominion third in the series points, still doing very well. Now he can settle down and has a shot. That team can gel and make a pretty good run for the K&N East title.
Ronnie and Dylan Bassett, of course, losing all of their equipment, their cars, their haulers, their tools, in a shop fire on Memorial Day, Saturday or Sunday, or maybe during the overnight hours or during that weekend. Picked up some rides for the Monday event at Dominion. Obviously a tough situation, but they're making the best of it for them, and they'll be back in action in a couple of weeks at the Stafford Motor Speedway in Connecticut when the NASCAR K&N East Series is back in action. Final thing I want to touch on before the break, Alaska makes their debut on the NASCAR Whelen All-American Series. Haven't seen the results yet, but the facility itself looked amazing.
Yeah, Kevin Nevalanian put up some great pictures on Twitter and Facebook, and he's got a cool job as well. We talk about how much we travel. Kevin goes all over the 4 corners of this earth, it seems like, to find new NASCAR Whelen All-American Series short tracks. And, there were so many people that had a lot of feedback on the pictures, the shots of where he was. I mean, Alaska is beautiful as it is. I've never been there before, but some of the pictures I've seen are incredible, and that's just amazing that we're adding yet another track into another state.
Alaska Raceway Park in Palmer, Alaska. They debuted the NASCAR Whelen Modified Series the NASCAR Whelen All-American Series. The modifieds would be cool there, though, on a third of a mile oval this past weekend, and looking for some results from that event. They have a busy schedule. I'm assuming, though, much like the NASCAR Pinty Series, a short schedule to work with, not a whole lot of time to be able to get on the racetrack up there.
Either that or they better put up lights. They're going to need plenty of lights, but no, it should be great.
Coming up here on NASCAR Coast to Coast, we're going to talk with second-place runner this past weekend at the Stafford Motor Speedway, Jimmy Blewett, as this edition rolls on here on MRN.com.
NASCAR Coast to Coast will be right back on MRN.com.
Race on over to mrn.creekstonefarms.com now through June 8th and enter our Sizzlin' Steak Sweepstakes, where you can win a gift certificate good for $500 in Creekstone Farms premium Black Angus beef and all-natural Duroc pork. No purchase necessary. Open to legal residents of the 50 United States and District of Columbia who are 21 or older at time of entry. If you want America's best Black Angus beef ribeyes, fillets, all-natural pork tenderloins, baby back ribs, and more, you've got the green light. Go to mrn.creekstonefarms.com and enter today.
Looking to find the best place for all the latest NASCAR Sprint Cup, Xfinity, Camping World Truck, K&N, and Modified Series news? MRN.com is the place to go. Your online home for NASCAR news, opinion, podcasts, videos, race schedules, results, and statistics. Award-winning motorsports writers keep you informed and up-to-date on all the latest breaking NASCAR news and in-depth stories and opinion. MRN.com, your online home for all the NASCAR information you're looking for. Join the Motor Racing Network every Tuesday night for NASCAR Live. Get the latest news and exclusive interviews from the biggest names in the sport.
One thing, don't take yourself too seriously. Don't worry about people judging and just...
Hear the thoughts and opinions from NASCAR insiders.
Look at what he's been able to do with the Wood Brothers since they returned to full-time competition this year. Now, obviously...
It's NASCAR Live every Tuesday evening at 7 Eastern on the Motor Racing Network.
Hey, this is NASCAR Canadian Tire Series driver LP Dumoulin, and you're listening to NASCAR Coast to Coast on MRN.com. Now back to Kyle and Buddy.
All right, thank you very much, LP. And, of course, the NASCAR Pinty Series back in action this weekend. Want to talk about NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour action this past Friday night at the Stafford Motor Speedway in Stafford Springs, Connecticut, the TSI Harley-Davidson 125. Doug Coby did it again, winning his third consecutive race at that track and second of the season, of course, winning the Spring Sizzler earlier this year. But the driver that has stayed closest to him more often than not, especially on Friday night, has been Jimmy Blewett, and he joins us now on the guest line. Jimmy, hard to stay with Coby at Stafford this year, but you were able to stay within a half second to finish in the second spot. How'd the night go from your standpoint down in your driver's seat?
Doug's definitely got everything, all his ducks in a row. Right now he's basically picked up where he left off, last year, being so strong. But, we had a good night. We were consistent. We unloaded consistent. We were in the top 5 in practice all day. Most of the day, top of the charts. Time trials 5th, going out early, which gave us good track position early on in the race. And basically when the green flag dropped, the top 4 of us kind of checked out, and then the top 3 cars started checking out, going even harder, started to check out a little bit more. And I felt that, at that point it was a little too early to start really checking out, because if we had a real long green flag run that maybe we would burn it up, and get past the point of pit stops and go the whole way on the same set of tires. So with that said, I try to conserve a little bit and make it to that pit stop or that final caution flag to where it punched the field back up, which later in the race we ended up getting a caution, pitted, pit stop, did a great job on the pit stop, crew did a great job, and made it back out, and were able to get second.
It seems like just the other day we had you on the show and we were talking about you getting the ride with Bob Garbarino this year, having to get your NASCAR license in a short period of time to get yourself ready for the icebreaker at Thompson. But when you look at the first 4 races of this season, 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, aside from the incident, unfortunately, at Stafford in which you were in an accident, this team looks like it's gelled together very quickly.
I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you we had some work to do, but, my Starrett team is good. Everybody that's on the team has been with a team or with me or with Bob, in years past. So it's kind of a young team, but the guys do have some experience underneath their belts. Everybody's been going to all the races, staying open-minded and optimistic, and taking every, bad situation that we have had so far and try to turn it into positives, and keep focusing on the next race. We went to the icebreaker and we didn't have really a notebook with our team. Kind of just went, kind of guessing, with me, with the car, new crew chief, and so on and so forth. When we got done with there, we went to Stafford, real good, timed outside pole. Well, we ended up wrecking, and we had to replace the front clip on the car, replace the front of the frame, and with that, you basically started all over again with your notes, and guys worked real hard. They gave me a great car for Waterford and kept that momentum here for Stafford.
Mentioned the wreck at Stafford in the Sizzler, finishing back in the 31st spot, one of the bigger fields of the year thus far. Do you believe 40 points out, 8th in the standings, that there's enough time to rebound in a relatively short modified tour season to contend for this championship?
Anything is possible.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be in it to win it. We're just going to go to every race and concentrate on finishing and build a strong notebook. And I feel like if we do that, we'll better ourselves every time we unload. We just need to keep unloading fast, keep staying consistent, and keep staying in the front of the field. Finishing races is what wins championships. And we broke a tie rod there at Stafford. It was nothing that anybody did or from bumping wheels. Just a part failure. Put us back. But I feel like if we finish every race and we stay consistent, I don't see no reason why not. We can't be right there at the end, if not contending for the championship.
And that consistency is already beginning to take a little bit of root. And as we mentioned at the top of the broadcast, 40-point gap up to Doug, but you've got 16 points just to make up to get to second place. It's very tight from second all the way back to you. A great battle going on amongst everybody in that top 10.
I tell you what, I ran the tour, years past, and coming back this season, definitely we might not have the car count that we all want, but we definitely have a really strong field and a good group of cars out there. A lot of good young talent out there, guys like Timmy Salamino, Chase Dowling, Rowan Pennick running the 3-car, Donnie Leo with his new team. There's a lot of people that can contend for the win weekly, and it's a tight field. You see even in practice times, everybody, there's a blanket right over the top 5, top 10 cars, every week, just thousands of a second, separating the top 10. So, it's tough, just like work on that consistency, and I feel we'll have a strong shot at the end here.
A full field of 26 cars at the Stafford Motor Speedway last Friday night. We expect the same next Wednesday when the series returns to action at Thompson Speedway or Thompson Speedway Motorsports Park in Connecticut. Have you thought about the seat that you're in right now and the history of the race team? Drivers like Bobby Santos, Donnie Leah, Tim Connolly, all the way back, even before the tour began in 1985, Leo Cleary, Bugsy Stevens, all have won in the car. And the famed yellow paint scheme, red numeral 4 that you're driving. What would it mean for you to add your name to that list?
It would definitely be something special. And I'd be lying if I didn't say I didn't think about it once in a while. But I go to every race to win, and you got to crawl before you walk, and I feel like it just goes back to that to that gel with the team. Once we find what we need, the equation we need to win races and stay up front consistently, I feel we can pull off a win. I mean, I felt, Waterford, we were close. Stafford here, a couple things went our way. We could have been a little bit closer. But if we keep going in the direction that we're headed right now, I feel there should be no reason by the time the season's over with that we can't get ourselves a few wins.
In addition to that number 4, also some of the fans that have a chance to watch us on YouTube and take a look at some of the photos, taking a look at that famed number 76, which has also been very rich in tradition within the Blewett family, obviously with John Blewett, the great memorial race that always is held during the North-South Shootout weekend. Of course, we still celebrate John at Wall Stadium Speedway. Going back a year, though, I mean, you traditionally have come from a lot of the asphalt ranks, did quite a bit of dirt-modified racing. Many drivers have said in order to be successful in asphalt racing, they use a lot of tools if they came over from the dirt track trade. That has helped them immensely. Do you find that? I mean, I know you ran asphalt possibly before dirt and kind of went back and forth, but do you see a lot of characteristics in the dirt side that help you on the asphalt side as well?
Absolutely. I feel like taking that time off of asphalt and going dirt racing made me a lot better driver on asphalt for sure. A lot more car control, a lot more feeling for the car. And, sometimes when the car's not perfect, I can drive through that, where before I was hesitant, and after running the dirt car, you get in the asphalt car, and it's like, wow, you're just looking for any ounce of grip you can get when you're out there on a dirt track, and then you get in the modified, and you got a 15-inch wide tire on it, and it's like, wow, but definitely took a lot of tools from it. Even down to adjustments on the car. People say, hey, dirt's the complete opposite. I don't really feel it's that. I just feel like everything on dirt's magnified, compared to what you do on asphalt. So definitely, it was a big learning curve for me, myself, to switch over to the dirt. But at the end of the day, and then switch back to asphalt, I was doing it, part-time, going to my local tracks when I can support them, hitting maybe a tour race here and there. But overall, from switching, back from dirt back onto asphalt and taking what I learned from the dirt, it's definitely helped me in a positive way.
This is your first full-time season back on the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour in about 4 years. What took you away from the tour, brought you to dirt racing, and ultimately what brought you back this year full-time?
Basically, all my crew guys, we kind of grew together as a team throughout the years, and them having young families and the family starting to grow and having a few more kids, I started to lose a few crew members. And it was hard to do it on my own with not having the amount of help that I needed to do it. Us being based in New Jersey and traveling to Connecticut, to Martinsville, to Bristol, and getting those days off of work, with a family-owned business here, it was just really hard for me to juggle that. And to try to put people in place weekly and not have the same guys every time you showed up at the racetrack. 1 week with one tire guy, next week with another one, so on and so forth. It just got to be too much, and I felt like if I couldn't do it 100% with my family car, there wasn't no sense in doing it. So we looked it over the one winter, and we sat down, me and my grandfather, and we talked about it, and I asked him what he wanted to do, and we were dabbling in dirt just a little bit, running a few races here and there, and he said to me, ultimately, I would really like to go dirt racing. I want to, put an honest effort into it and see if we can't do it and be successful at it, just to say we did it. And that's what we did, and going back this year to Bob's car, he had the crew, he had the guys. I brought two guys from my team with me, and they go when they can. But ultimately, he has a full group of guys, and that was basically the icing on the cake for me to come back tour racing is, having a car where you just, basically show up there and drive it, just give them as much feedback as you can while you're at the track, and that's really it.
You have a chance to return back to Thompson Speedway Motorsport Park. That will be the second go-round in Bob's car. The first time, very solid run. Very first race, the Icebreaker, a very solid ninth-place run, finishing on the lead lap. What do you need to do? What are the keys to the race for you as you now have a chance to go back in race number 2 at Thompson the second time in this car? What gets you closer to that front?
Just working on the balance, working on the chassis setup, working on what's comfortable for me at Thompson. That's basically it. Those guys, they unload every week with a pretty fast car. So I feel what we've learned the last 3 races, Stafford, Waterford, and going back to Stafford again, even though it wasn't Thompson, what we learned with the car and with myself, I think we could take what we've learned there and go back to Thompson, hopefully unload and be just as strong as we've been the first 4 races.
Looking for your first win at the Thompson Speedway Motorsports Park next Wednesday night. A couple of second-place finishes there over the years. Best of luck to you, Jimmy, and congratulations. A good, solid second-place effort. Hard for anybody to keep up with Doug at Stafford lately, but you do, I guess, the best of the rest of the field on Friday night at Stafford Motor Speedway.
Well, I appreciate it, and this all wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for Star Tools and Bob Garbarino and his family. I just want to say thank you to them and also to my grandfather for giving me the time off to make it all possible, and appreciate you having me on.
All right, thank you for joining us. A time off, always important. Jimmy Blewett joining us here on NASCAR Coast to Coast, and he's right. It is a very competitive tour until they go to Stafford, and the race is literally from second on back, probably the last year or two since Doug really jumped into that 2 car, and they just hit on the setup there.
Oh, they did. And, we kind of thought there was the chance that somebody else was going to win the title when Doug had his wreck at Bristol. And we thought with Woody Pitkat, Ryan Preece having such a good battle for the championship going, it was going to be between those 2. And then all of a sudden, Doug caught fire again. And next thing you know, he was right up there in the thick of the battle and won the championship. And that's why It's so difficult when he's on top of the game at this point in the season so early for anybody else to catch him. But I see a lot of similarities as well between what Jimmy's done in a short period of time and what Todd Szegedy did a year ago. No sooner than Todd got in that car, it seemed like almost every tour race you saw Todd's name in that top 5. It's a very good car, and it seems like no matter whoever gets in it, they gel very quickly and have some very good results.
And if not for that crash at the Stafford Motor Speedway, no doubt Jimmy would be up there probably second or third in the championship standings heading to Thompson next week. Coming up, we go Midwest late model racing. We're going to talk with Ty Majeski, the big winner this past weekend at La Crosse Fairground Speedway in La Crosse, Wisconsin.
Coming back with more of NASCAR Coast to Coast, it's Kyle Rickey and Buddy Long right after this.
Whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules Tires will get you there, whether you're running on dirt or running a job. Our dependable, high-quality tires are the perfect fit for your needs. For unmatched value, selection, and warranty with industry-leading road hazard protection, there's only one choice: Hercules Tires. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com or call 800-677-9535. Hercules Tires, ride on our strength.
Before you set your fantasy racing lineup, check in with our experts to get the inside line on who's fast and who's last entering the race weekend. Robbie Mays and Tyler Burnett take you inside the facts, stats, and latest news from the track so you have everything you need to set your team and win the weekend. Log on to MRN.com and enter the Media Center every Friday. It's the inside line on demand and only on the Motor Racing Network.
When the smoke settles, the entertainment never stops.
You know, it's everybody just trying to say my last name. They just don't finish it.
On race weekends, your favorite NASCAR personality is an everyday superhero.
And here comes Dale Earnhardt Jr.
But when they leave the racetrack, they're just like everyone else.
For the most part, our hearts were wagon makers.
I'm Susie Armstrong. Join me on a daily journey as we discuss the hot topics and engaging personalities of NASCAR Nation. Ned Jarrett's World of Racing, weekdays on the Motor Racing Network.
This is NASCAR K&N Pro Series East driver Justin Haley, and you're listening to NASCAR Coast to Coast on MRN.com. Now back to Kyle and Buddy.
Justin Haley, the NASCAR K&N Pro Series East championship leader, heading to the Stafford Motor Speedway a week from this Friday night. I'm interested to see how that race is going to shake out because that series hasn't been there in like 7 years, 7 or 8 years.
This has been one of the best schedules they've had, and they've had great schedules, but going to Mobile, going to Dominion Raceway in Virginia, now going to Stafford Motor Speedway, and eventually New Jersey Motorsports Park, so 4 brand new venues to that series. It's been a great season. I mean, parity reigns supreme. No repeat winners so far.
And they're all new winners.
Yeah. Who's going to win at Stafford?
So we'll find out a week from this Friday night. Ty Majeski joins us now on the guest line, hoping to get into some of these NASCAR touring series one day, but right now doing a whale of a job in his NASCAR Wheelin' All-American Series late model wherever he shows up. This past weekend it was La Crosse Fairground Speedway in Wisconsin. Congratulations, Ty, on your latest victory. It must be a pretty special win and probably a hard-fought win to be able to fend off the Carlson boys at La Crosse.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you, and yeah, I'm really blessed to have the opportunity that I have to go and run on Saturday nights when we're not touring somewhere with our super late model and go run out in our NASCAR late model and compete on Saturday nights, keep me in the seat. I always say that you can't put a price on seat time. It's so valuable to stay in the seat, keep yourself sharp, and really thankful for the opportunity. And always fun to go out there with the great Steve Carlson. Obviously, he's one of the best short track racers of all time. He's a good guy to lean on and get some advice from time to time.
And boy, what a year it's been. I mean, we had you on the show way back the beginning of this season, several weeks ago when Speed Week's kicked into high gear. Had a very good season or a week down in New Smyrna Speedway in the World Series of Asphalt Racing, named to the NASCAR Next class just a few weeks ago. The driver development contract with Roush Fenway Racing. I mean, it's just been one thing after another that's happened for you, but a lot of hard work to get there.
Yeah, for sure. It's been a real surreal last 6 months, really, ever since we kind of had a really good 2015 and went down and won the Governor's Cup at New Smyrna and set fast time at the Snowball Derby and ran top 3 there. And just all the runs that we've had consistently and then all these announcements coming out, it's just been an absolute surreal last 6 months or so. I mean, 2 years ago, I didn't even win a super late model race, and now I'm arguably one of the best in the country now. So there's a lot of people who made that possible for me, and I'm really thankful for all those people, all my sponsors, everybody behind me. It's definitely been an experience for sure. We're looking to keep it going.
Right now, you're top 10 in the NASCAR Whelen All-American Series national standings, just a couple of weeks in to those points being released on a weekly basis. Will those standings dictate your schedule going forward? I mean, would it be fun for you to run for a NASCAR Whelen All-American Series national championship, or all of your other commitments pretty much set in stone as far as your super late model stuff?
Well, that's definitely something we thought about actually prior to Speed Weeks. We thought maybe we could go down and have a really good Speed Weeks, which we did. We had 3 wins and then 3 seconds. We thought it might be possible for us to potentially run for it, but unfortunately, lacrosse just isn't getting enough race cars for us to have a feasible chance at running for the championship. Definitely something we thought about. We thought about actually going up to Elko Speedway in our super late model. They have double features there each Saturday night, but it's like 3 hours for us, and it's just we have to run our Midwest Tour car, and that's got to race quite a bit as well. So it just isn't going to work out this year. But it's definitely something we looked into. But if lacrosse would get a few more cars, that's definitely something we'd look at doing.
I'm sure those Gady boys would just love to see Ty Majeski come in. Matt did a great job this weekend. Last track of the Whelen All-American Series to open up finally. And, that was on schedule. It wasn't rainouts, thankfully, but because they're in Minnesota, I guess it takes a little bit longer to get warmed up. Kyle touched on Steve Carlson, another pretty interesting battle you have, switching states from Wisconsin over to Illinois. You've got a pretty good match race going with John Reynolds Jr., as they call Driver X, this upcoming weekend at Rockford, Illinois. Kind of take us through how that developed and what you're looking forward to there.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. Greg McCarn's contacted me. That was a few months ago now. He's the director and owner of the Midwest Tour. And he contacted me a few weeks ago and asked me if I'd be interested in some match races. I think another one that we might do is Grundy with Eddie Hoffman and John Reynolds Jr. at Rockford. So I'm looking forward to it. I've never actually seen a match race before. I'm not very familiar with them, but I know it's exciting for the fans, and ultimately that's our goal, is to try and get people in the stands, people excited about short track racing again, because I really think it's gone downhill pretty much nationwide within the last 5 years or so. So it's cool that a guy like Greg McCarns is trying to bring some of the old traditions back and bring people back into short track racing.
Something I used to love in the Northeast, and again, like Ty mentioned, they've gotten away from these type of events, but match races years ago, it was Richie Evans versus Jeff Bodine, or Jeff Bodine versus Jimmy Spencer, or Ron Bouchard. Some great races, and they did it, I don't know, once or twice a month probably at places like Thompson and Stafford and Waterford, and glad to see some of these tracks coming back on board with match racing. Buddy mentioned a moment ago, NASCAR Next Class for 2016, 2017. Your thoughts on being a part of a very exclusive group of just 11 drivers you were announced to just a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, really caught me by surprise to be in a program like that, especially because I don't run a NASCAR touring series. I run, the NASCAR Whelen stuff, but I'm the first driver ever to be in the program to not run a touring series, which was really special. I knew about the NASCAR Next program, but I just didn't think I was eligible for it just because of that. So to get that call was really special, and it was surreal. I was sitting in my dorm room studying for an exam later that afternoon, and here they needed me in North Carolina next week for all the festivities for NASCAR Next. So it was pretty cool. Awesome experience to be part of a program that has had such great success in developing drivers like Chase Elliott and John Hunter Nemechek, Cole Custer. The list goes on and on. So hopefully we can keep the tradition going.
Pretty much a whirlwind year for you already. As we mentioned, the Roush Fenway Racing driver development contract. It sounded like, from what we understood, that you would kind of follow a path very similar to that of Chris Buescher, a driver that went through the Roush Fenway Racing deal, did some ARCA racing with the Rullo brothers. It sounded like that's kind of the path that one of the paths that you would be a part of. Kyle alluded to, and I was thinking the same thing, if you were 10th in the series standings, was that carrot dangled in front of you enough to want to try and make a run, and you answered that for us. With that said, with the schedule that you have a rough idea of some of the ARCA races and some of the other events that you're going to be participating in through the Roush Fenway Racing driver development deal?
Yeah, we have a rough idea. We're actually in the middle of getting ready to go test the ARC car within the next few days here. So not 100% sure on what our debut is going to be, but it'll end up being probably about 5 races this year. We're going to start off on some short track, and then maybe go to kind of an intermediate like maybe Iowa, and then end on some mile-and-a-half tracks just to get myself more accustomed to the aerodynamic stuff. Obviously, a big part of that is getting on a mile-and-a-half track. So I'm looking forward to it. The Rule Brothers are great guys, a great team to work with, have great history in the sport, and I'm looking forward to working with them and trying to develop myself to be ready for the NASCAR ring someday.
Obviously, signing with Roush Fenway just a couple of weeks ago, leading into the NASCAR Next announcement. I think it all came down within 4 or 5 days of each other. Before that all went down, had any NASCAR Xfinity teams or Camping World Truck Series teams or even K&N teams approached you about a possible ride?
Yeah, I mean there were some various teams that wanted to try and put something together. I had a sponsor that was interested in maybe running some truck races for a really good team. It would have been a good deal, but I really wanted to put a deal together that was going to help develop me as a driver instead of kind of getting thrown to the wolves, so to speak, in a one-off truck race, somewhere where, I'm kind of against the odds and a vehicle I've never been in. I've never really done too much live pit stop stuff. So there's just a lot of things that would have been going against me. And everybody knows once you go out there and make a fool out of yourself once, it's hard to get that reputation changed. So I really wanted to try and put a deal together, like I said, that was going to help develop me as a driver on and off the track. And I think this deal with Roush Fenway Racing and competing with Rula Brothers will definitely help me do that.
A lot of things have happened. Have you had the opportunity just to sit down and really think and assess what has transpired this year from New Smyrna through the NASCAR Next deal, through the Roush Fenway Racing driver development deal, to all the successes that you have when you look at drivers like Steve Carlson that you're beating on the racetrack and the rich tradition and history of such fine Midwest late model drivers going all the way back to the days of ASA with the Dick Trickles, the Bob Senekers, Rusty Wallaces, and Mark Martins, and knowing that labeled as one of the top late model drivers in America, you kind of fit that same mold or in a similar class.
Yeah, it's really special. I appreciate all the kind words there. It's definitely been a surreal last few months for sure. I'll be honest with you, I don't think anything's really synced in yet. We're just trying to go out there week after week, do what we do, keep working in the race shop, keep trying to get our race cars better. I keep trying to watch film, try and improve on what I do and what I can improve on as a race car driver and how our cars need to improve to keep doing what we're doing. We always want to stay grounded no matter what happens. I always say, whenever you think you're the best, that's exactly when you get beat. So we're going to keep digging, keep trying to get our race cars better, and I'm going to continue to try and improve.
You touched on some of the ARCA races that you may be doing here this year, part of that Roush Fenway Racing Development Program. What's the rest of your schedule look like? You remind me of like the Ryan Preece of the Midwest. Ryan will find any possible race he can run up with a modified at places like Riverhead, Thompson, Stafford, Waterford, and he'll run 60, 70 races a year. What's your schedule look like?
Yeah, I mean we'll be up in that number as well. It'll be we ran 55 races last year. I think this year it'll be about that, maybe a little bit more. So like I say, seat time is just absolutely invaluable. You can't put a price on it. The more you do something, the better you're going to get at it, no matter what it is. And obviously it's the same for racing. And I think that's been a lot of why we've been successful in the last couple of years, just because I've had the opportunities, good people behind me and good sponsors behind me, and I've been able to get in the seat a lot. And I think that's been a big part of our success.
And although not a NASCAR event, I assume the Snowball Derby's back on the list for this year?
Absolutely. We're going to try and go back there. It felt like we had a pretty good race car, maybe one that could have won, but we just lost too much track position each time we came into pit road. We had some stuff wrong with the way the car was set up as far as the hubs and stuff for being able to achieve quick pit stops. So some of that stuff will be changed for this year, and hopefully we'll be better off.
All right. Well, congratulations again on the win this past weekend at La Crosse Fairgrounds Raceway, and best of luck to you throughout the rest of the summer. We'll be watching you. Hopefully, we'll see you in the NASCAR Whelen All-American Series national standings among the top 10 and back in victory lane again soon.
All right, sounds good, guys. Thanks a lot for having me.
NASCAR next driver, Ty Majeski, a big winner this past weekend and one of the future stars of the sport. Sounds like he's doing it the right way, taking his time and not really rushing through the different series like he potentially could.
Yeah, a pretty laid-back interview. When we talked to him back in February, I mean, this kid was like he had already been schooled on how to talk. He just was so laid back and did a great job. And I don't believe was a surprise to either you or I when he was part of the NASCAR Next class that was announced, because he'd done quite a few things already, was very impressive, and it was just a matter of time.
Yeah, absolutely. Did well this past February at New Smyrna Speed Weeks down in Florida, and doing well whenever he gets in a car at some of the Midwest racetracks that he runs over the course of the season. When we come back, Hurricane Hannah will join us here in studio, and it'll be interesting to note where she got her name from. We'll talk to her coming up on as this edition of NASCAR Coast to Coast continues. Hannah Newhouse joins us after the break.
NASCAR Coast to Coast will be right back on MRN.com.
Motor Racing Network has always been your source for motorsports coverage when you couldn't be at the track. Now, never miss another minute of our breathtaking coverage with the MRN app, available on your iPhone or Android device. This free app delivers all the latest news, locates nearby MRN stations, streams your favorite programs, and is your home for live Sprint Cup practice and qualifying action. Search MRN in the App Store or on Google Play. It's the Motor Racing Network at your fingertips, and it's available for free right now.
Looking for a great spot for an affordable beach vacation, a family getaway, or the perfect romantic retreat but just can't find the time? Let the Plaza Resort and Spa help. A vacation on the world's most famous beach is sure to help you reconnect with the ones you love. You will discover the grand tradition of hospitality and service at this sparkling Daytona Beach Hotel, located directly on the beach. A Plaza Resort and Spa weekend escape is the ultimate in relaxation, with world-class massages, facials, body wraps, and more at the Plaza's very own Ocean Waters Spa. She'll love you for giving her such a fantastic weekend getaway. The Plaza Resort and Spa, located at 600 North Atlantic Avenue in Daytona Beach, one of the area's premier hotels and the perfect choice for any type of getaway. Book online at plazaresortandspa.com or call 1-855-DB-PLAZA. That's 1-855-327-5292.
Ready to take the training wheels off your race scanner? Go to fanvision.com and upgrade your experience with FanVision. Not only will you be able to hear the race,
Dale Earnhardt Jr. gets a good run, drafting help from Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick. Jr. again pulls up alongside for the race lead.
you'll see every moment through live video, instant replays, live stats, and more.
Hi, I'm Jamie McMurray, driver of the #1 McDonald Chevrolet, and I never go to the track without my FanVision. So go to fanvision.com to rent or buy yours today.
This is NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour driver Woody Pickett, and you're listening to NASCAR Coast to Coast on MRN.com. Now back to Kyle and Buddy.
Woody will be back in action this Friday night at the Stafford Motor Speedway, and of course next Thursday at the Thompson Speedway Motorsports Park when the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour resumes. Welcome back to NASCAR Coast to Coast here on the Motor Racing Network. Kyle Rickey, Buddy Long, joined by Hannah Newhouse, who is playing with our Hercules.
Craig's not going to get on her for playing with the
that's
Hercules
right.
guys.
He
so
yells
we'll,
at us.
we'll let her,
Yeah,
we'll let
I
her.
heard you guys play with this frequently. I was like, I don't want to get on the bad side already.
Ago, but that's all right. What brings you to town? I know you emailed me a couple of weeks ago and said, hey, I just want to come and see how the show is done. You've been on the show a couple of times the last few years, and here you are, hoping, I guess, to make a move to the East Coast.
Yeah, definitely. And most of the time when I come through the Charlotte area, it's for a 48-hour period where I'm generally heading up east or heading somewhere else. And so I've never really got a chance to, take Charlotte in and really, get to see the racing background. I come from Boise, Idaho,
Right.
so where we don't have a lot of racing. So I finally scheduled a trip out here. I was like, you know what, I'm going to go out and I'm going to be a tourist, and I'm going to do it for 7 days is what I'm going to do. So I'm kind of out here more or less, hanging out, checking things out, and kind of lobbying around, looking for a place possibly to live and potential jobs and rides. So I was like, I need 7 days to do it. That way I can take all of it in.
So what's next on the agenda once you leave here? If you leave, you might find someplace.
Right, my parents might get a phone call. All right, start packing stuff up, guys. No, actually, this next weekend, so June 18th, I have a race at Meridian Speedway in the Big 5 Late Model Series. It's our biggest event of the year, so it's the Napa 125. So it's 125 laps in the super late model on that tricky little quarter mile, and I love that speedway. So
You're the point leader in that series after 2 races. Obviously, kind of bring us through the first 2 races, and obviously have found a lot of success there thus far this year.
Yeah, definitely. We're really excited to get back in the super late model. Meridian Speedway is one of my favorite tracks. I'm a short track racer at heart, so quarter mile is my favorite, which is funny because a lot of people don't like short tracks. But nope, we're excited. We're back in the super late model, and we were kind of going into it like, okay, it's 5 races. You know, we need to get stuff done as quick as possible, but also take good finishes. And we were leading the very first race, and we were super excited to be leading it, and we got taken out with about 10 laps to go and rallied back to a 5th place finish, and we were like, uh-oh, this is not a good way to start the year off. And the next race actually got called short due to massive amounts of cautions, and thankfully I had a right front flat going down, so we were like, yes, they called it short. We were not going to end up well, and we finished second. I really think we had something for the leader, so that's a big confidence booster going into this 125 lapper, knowing that we were potential of a win 2 races in a row.
Now, you also run the trucks. I think you ran, the Diamond Cup over the weekend, or most recently?
Yeah, yep, we had a 2-day show at Meridian Speedway in the Pro Truck Series, which is a touring Pro Truck Series, and yeah, Diamond Cup was not nice to us. You know, we normally either go there and do really, really well, or bad luck just bites us, and bad luck bit us hard this last weekend. I actually caught fire. I had an electrical fire Friday night, and we rewired everything, thought we had everything fixed because my motor was cutting out midway through the race, and went through most of Saturday. Everything was fine, good to go. Qualified like 3rd, I think, and started at the back of the main event, and 5 laps in, my motor started cutting out again, and we're like, uh-oh. So, of course, you know, when your motor's cutting out, I made it all the way up to 2nd place, was battling for the lead, was going to win it, and my motor was just not having it, so we had to pull off. And so I went from a couple points out of 1st to I think I'm like 9th in points now. So, yeah, it was a tough break leaving Meridian this weekend.
Won a heat race, though, I believe, on Friday night, maybe? I think I saw the interview online that you did with the PA announcer.
Yep, won the heat race Friday night, and I know, like I said, I knew we had a great truck both nights. My team did a amazing job of putting something together. Just bad luck just bit us.
Are you surprised when you, and Kyle and I talked about it earlier, NASCAR's presence in the state of Idaho, of all states? You know, you traditionally think of this as a southern sport. Obviously, it's grown immensely over the years, in which we were just talking about a new track in Alaska. But not only to have 3 tracks in Idaho, but 2 of them run K&N Pro Series West events. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. You know, most of the time people ask me when I talk about being a race car driver, they're like, oh, where are you from? And I'm like, Idaho. And they're like,
Idaho?
Yeah, I was like, you guys have tracks out there? Like, what do you do, race around hay bales? And I'm like, no. So it's really cool not only to have 2 tracks that run K&N Pro Series events out there, but also have one that's basically my backyard. You know, when I moved to Boise, Meridian Speedway was 5 minutes from my house. You can hear the race cars at night. So it's really cool to have something so close like that that's so connected now with NASCAR. And, you know, I get to run the K&N Pro Series West event at Meridian again this year, so I'm really excited to make that return.
That's going to be my next question for you about your future. But let's talk about the last year and a half or so. Roller coaster ride for you. I mean, you started last year, full head of steam. You were going to run, I think, most of the NASCAR K&N Pro Series West season. Then you get hurt. Big wreck, 2 races in at Irwindale. You bounce back. I think you ran a 3rd event last year. You run an event earlier this year. How tough has this last year and a half been for you?
You know, it's been a roller coaster. Like you said, I think you hit the nail on the head there. We went into last year very confident that, you know, we were going to be competitive. We were going to go for the whole K&N Pro Series West because, you know, I really wanted to get into the NASCAR Next program and really make those connections, because those are big connections to have, especially as a female in the sport. So we had 1 car, and our goal was we're going to run the first 3 races last year and then go from there. If we felt that we could be competitive, so we could pick up sponsorship along the way. And yeah, 2nd event in, we had the incident at Irwindale where a motor blew directly in front of me, and I was the first one to hit it, and I ended up getting hurt too, so I was on medical leave. And it just, after that, like you said, I mean, it was just my late model series was like up and down between wrecks and blowing a motor, and I mean, it was just stuff that was out of our control. And we came back at Meridian, and actually we had a really good run going and got a right rear flat. I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. Like, I said that more times last year than I think I could have. So to come back this year, and, you know, we ran 7th at Irwindale at the beginning of the year, and, you know, we're really hoping to get another K&N race or 2 involved if sponsorship comes through, but we're definitely planning on the Meridian one, and then to be so, you know, excited about our super late models this year. So we're really pushing for the 2016 season.
And one of the other things that's been a challenge for you, and you mentioned in one of the videos that you did, was you fought a battle with so many people that said you're here because of your gender. And when you look, and I think it's safe to say and safe to ask you that at this very moment right now in racing, when you look at the female drivers in the K&N Series, both East and West, and the Wheel and All-American Series, there is a ton of very good female talent, some of the best we've ever seen right now.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see all that, because when I first started, I started off in a limited late model at Magic Valley Speedway, and I mean, there really weren't that many. I mean, you looked at the standings and every 60th driver was maybe a girl. And so to now go into it and there be tons of girls at Meridian Speedway, and you have 4 for the most part that compete on and off in the East Series, and myself and Landauer, who both compete on the West Series, and I'm in and out of the series and she's full time. It's awesome to see these girls come through, because they're proving we're not here just because of our gender. I mean, obviously we can compete with everyone who's not a female.
For those that still are getting to know Hannah Newhouse, you've been in the NASCAR K&N Pro Series the last several years, in or out. You've been on this show a couple of times. How'd you get into the sport of motorsports? What got you behind the wheel for the first time?
My dad was a motocross racer and was like, my kid's not getting on a dirt bike, because if you see him, he's got a half metal leg basically from hurting himself on dirt bikes. And so he made the transition when he was hurt on a dirt bike into go-karts. So, casted leg, I can drive a go-kart. So he did go-karts and eventually, moved into modifieds and super late models. And when us kids came along, 5 years old, he stuck me in a go-kart and said, all right, let's see if she likes it. And little did he know, he was in for it with me. So that's kind of how we got into it. And, we still dabble in and out of dirt bikes. We actually were in Idaho City for a off-road race this last Sunday, and it was 106 miles, and my dad rode it and finished first in his class.
Wow.
I'm like, you still got it, old man. Like, you're still digging.
Glen Morgan go-kart track, right? Is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it was on the video. I didn't know that.
I was
Even
like,
though
wow,
I'm in
you got
karting
this.
full time, I did not remember that. But part of that video that it was really a good video, one of the many ones that you did. Who's the youngster that's out there? The little blue number 6 cart. It looks like a little kid cart that's out there. I know that's not you. You're beside them, kind of giving them encouragement.
Yeah, it was really cool. Actually, that was the first time I'd met the little girl, and I actually haven't gotten to go out to the go-kart track since then. And we were out there just filming the video, and she happened to be out there, and the producer, Brenna Malloy, was like, that little girl is a little you. Like, someone couldn't, if they casted a movie, she would be the perfect little you. And so it was so cool to have her out there in her pink suit, and she was ripping around, and I was like, holy flashback. Like, this is crazy. Because that was me, she was 6 years old, and her dad was out there in a go-kart as well, coaching her on the track, and it was super cool. One of my questions I asked her was, so do you beat all the boys? And she goes, no. And I was like, that's okay, you'll get there.
You mentioned you're over here on the East Coast, meeting a lot of new folks. Who are some of the people that have helped you along the way get to this point, and hopefully will be helping you get to the East Coast here by the end of 2016?
Yeah, I really have to give a huge thank you, of course, to Thompson Motorsports. They really gave me my first push in stock car racing. I got into a truck with our own family equipment when I was around 13, and Thompson Motorsports saw me and said, let's see what she can do in a NASCAR program, because they know the push that NASCAR has. And we ran the Whelen Series with them. Then we made super late models, a pro truck, and also my K&N West debut with Thompson Motorsports. And they still support me so much to this day, even though we've branched out different ways. And, Jefferson Pitts Racing, which is a familiar name in the West Series now, they gave me the opportunity in Irwindale, and they'll give me the opportunity again, hopefully, in Meridian this upcoming year. And so as far as teams, I owe a huge thanks to them and my crew guys at home that run on our personal equipment. But Boise State University came on in 2014, and they were a huge door opener for us as well. It was cool to have a college come on, and I'm scholarship, so I'm a student athlete NASCAR driver is how my contract is written out, and that was we were one of the first schools to really dabble in that. You see colleges on race cars, but not contracted through scholarship to be an athlete for the schools. So that was a really cool thing to do.
And I remember that, and I think I shared that with you on Facebook or something, how cool it was. Was it a bowl game, or was it just a Boise State, a weekly college football game that was on national TV? But as they came back from commercial break, the announcers were talking about and showed the picture of you in your Boise State car. It was so awesome. It's like, oh, my God. It blew my mind. I mean, we've seen you guys on television doing races, but when you are at a major college football game, and all of a sudden they come back to the broadcast and it starts with a still shot of you. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll never forget that, actually. It was a San Diego State versus Boise State home game. And I was actually in Las Vegas racing at the Bull Ring for the Fall Classic. And people were texting me like, we were getting game updates throughout the day, and they were like, we just saw you. Oh, my gosh, are you at the game? And I'm like, well, if I was at the game, I wouldn't be having you text me updates, for one. But no, I'm in Vegas racing. And they're like, we just saw you. Oh my gosh. And then of course I didn't DVR the game. So I'm like, oh, I can't find it. Like, I want to see myself on TV. It was so cool. But yeah, that was unplanned. So it was really cool for them to do that and to see, like you said, myself in the middle of an ESPN game break. Like,
Absolutely.
what?
Absolutely.
You have marketed yourself well the last couple of years. That seems like it's half the battle these days for a lot of the young kids trying to break into, heck, just even a super late model program, but especially the K&N series and the National Series.
Yeah, it's been a challenge. You know, I never really, with my family, we never really had a big background in racing. My dad was a first-generation race car driver, so for me to come along, and he just kind of did local super late model stuff. We never really thought we were going to take it anywhere. So when I decided that I wanted to make this a career, hopefully, he was like, I don't know how to help you. I've helped you as far as I can. So I really took it upon myself to learn any more the social media gig. Social media is huge in the world of racing, and to be able to market myself. And, you know, I, starting at 14 years old, was the one that went in and talked to the sponsors. So the 14-year-old was the one calling the sponsors and saying, hey, we need to have a meeting. And then they were surprised when I walked in. And I mean, so it's been a huge part, and I'm glad that I've learned that, because that's something that I feel I have maybe an upper hand, is I've been so hands-on with the development of my own career.
Kyle mentioned, was asking you some of the people that have had a big impact on your racing career. It sounds like Lynn St. James had a lot to do with that as well.
Yeah, Lynn St. James actually was 2013. I became a part of her Project Podium program, and it was really cool for her to, you know, recognize that. And I actually had the opportunity to hang out with her in Phoenix. I made a start in Phoenix with the K&N Pro Series West, and she was like, can I come out and watch? And I was like, oh my gosh, yes. And she was walking around with me, and it was so cool because people would walk by. They were like, oh my gosh, it's Lynn St. James. I'm like, I know, she's hanging out with me, guys. Like, this is so cool.
What time's running thin here? Time flies, man,
does.
when we have a in-studio guest. And what's the rest of your week in Charlotte look like? Once you leave here, what's on the agenda?
Dinner with Amber Balkan, right?
I saw that.
Yes.
Speaking of another one of the female ladies wanting to get into to motorsports here on the East Coast from Canada.
Yeah, no, my week's, it's pretty up in the air. It's pretty easy going. I'm hoping to go check out actually a couple race shops after this. Hope to go maybe stop by my Rev Racing family. You know, I've been at the Diversity Combine a couple years. And so I'm hoping to go visit the Rev Racing shop and see a couple other shops, as well as, like you said, dinner with Amber Balkan. And I got a lot of friends out here. And so I'm hoping to spread my time out evenly, because we only see each other at the racetrack. So, and of course, I have to spend a day on Lake Norman. Like,
there you go.
That is the day.
You and everybody else.
Right.
Around here.
I know.
Good luck with all that traffic over there.
Right.
Speaking of traffic, you had a bout with traffic yesterday, to no one's surprise, here in Charlotte.
Oh, yeah. I complain about Boise traffic. Like,
is it bad? Is Boise bad?
Okay, well, that's the thing. I thought it was bad till I came here. And then, like, I was on my way here today, and I got stuck in traffic, and then I got lost, and I was like, oh my gosh, if my GPS does not work one day, I'm going to be in so much trouble.
And you'll be in traffic on your way to Rev as well, so best of luck with that.
Perfect. Well, at least I can plan my...
I can
be there in 45 minutes.
Right. You work right next door.
I'm in the same complex as Rev Racing.
Hey, there you go.
I do get lost from here going back to work some days. Only on purpose. Only on purpose. Only on purpose.
All right, Hannah, thanks for joining us. Best of luck to you the rest of the season. Glad to see you here in studio, and I guess I'll see you when next? In December, maybe, at the banquets?
You'll see me Monday.
Oh,
at
summer
the shootout.
Summer shootout.
Yeah, I'll
Monday
be at the summer shootout.
Speedway, so that'll be fun. Hard to believe it's that time of the year already. Hannah, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys.
All right, there were a lot of other races going on during the course of this past weekend. Not all of them got rained out. However, 7 of them did. Tucson Speedway ran the Icebreaker. 107 was the
was the temperature?
Was the lap count this year. The temperature of race day. Chuck Ware's claimed to win in the super late models. Ned Champagne won in the late model event. Their next event, June 18th, for the Man Cave Summer Sizzle.
Yeah. We talked about Ty Majeski, a development driver for Roush Fenway Racing. 2 other development drivers for Junior Motorsports did well. Josh Berry taking the latest Paramount Kia Big Ten Challenge race at Hickory Motor Speedway. Christian X, another very good driver, came home second in that event.
Colorado National Speedway ran in Dacona, Colorado this past weekend. Jace Hansen picked up his first late model feature of the season, holding off point leader Bruce Yackey. They are back in action this Saturday night, featuring the NASCAR K&N Pro Series West.
Twin 25s for Sportsman Modifieds at Airborne Park Speedway. Mike Wells picks up his first of the year. Defending champion Nick Haywood picked up his third in the second race.
Rowan Pennick does it again in the Stafford SK Modified division, holding off Keith Rocco and Ted Christopher. I believe his third feature win in 4 starts this year. Tom Fern won in late models. They're back in action this Friday night.
John Fortin Sr., the winner of the Baldwin Evans Jerzambach NASCAR 77 at Riverhead Raceway over Dave Brigatti and Ronnie Silk. They'll have twin 50s coming up this weekend on the island.
We talked about racing in Idaho. Magic Valley Speedway was in action this past weekend. Jeff Wade and Steve Eden split the twin and late model features. They are back in action this Saturday night. Double features for the super late models.
Devil's Bowl Speedway asphalt doing well. The dirt is not. Travis Bruno took the Sportsman mods on asphalt. The dirt track is like Utica Rome. They've been rained out 5 times as well. 2 of those were practice sessions, but 3 races as well.
No one beats Utica Rome.
No.
6 nights in a row rained out. They will make it up this Thursday night, June 9th. Try to make it up. And they're back in action this Sunday, hopefully for the first time all year. I want to thank all of our guests on the show, including Ty Majeski, Hannah Newhouse joining us here in studio. For Buddy Long, Robbie Mays, and Craig Moore, I'm Kyle Rickey. We'll see you back here next Wednesday on NASCAR Coast to Coast.
This has been NASCAR Coast to Coast with MRN short track experts Kyle Rickey and Buddy Long. Tune in next Wednesday at noon at MRN.com for more talk from NASCAR home tracks and touring series. NASCAR Coast to Coast is also available on demand in the MRN.com Media Center or download from iTunes or Stitcher. NASCAR Coast to Coast is a production of the Motor Racing Network. All rights reserved.